Like I said before the show started, it's just kind of stunning to think what the last 24 hours of news has been. I mean, it starts with the Supreme Court hearing, which no one's currently talking about, but you had the hearing about whether the GOP nominee was going to be removed from the Colorado ballot. And the hearing went so bad for Colorado that you even have my mother-in-law, who hates Trump with the passion of 6,000 suns. She was texting me saying, Trump's going to win this hearing. I mean, that's how bad it was. And she's not a lawyer. So that's like old news at this point because of all the other craziness that went after that. So, to me, what's interesting, and I want to bring this up first because Michael's on this. Michael and I have a bet. I forgot the exact terms, but the bet is basically, will Biden be the nominee? And we have a date. When's the date, Michael?
November.
Is it November? Okay, so will Biden be the nominee of the Democrats in November? I said yes, he will. Michael, 6 months ago, I think said no, he will not. I'm doubling down on that, even after yesterday. I think he will be the nominee. I don't buy these theories that he's got handlers or Obama or whoever who are going to pull the rug on him and get someone else in there. So I just would first say I think the press conference last night was a complete debacle, but it just seemed to me he's just an angry old man. I didn't interpret it as he's this demented human being. He's not well. He's not sharp like our youngest here, but I do think that he is competent enough to win re-election.
So what are you talking about, Adam? 1 second. Well, the bet was almost 18 months ago because I went back and looked at our text messages. So it goes back a ways. The special prosecutor assigned by the Department of Justice to review his documents cases just said he's not competent to stand trial, let alone run the country. There's no way he's going to be the nominee. No way.
But listen, there's no scenario in which right now you can articulate without put aside that there's a massive health issue. Okay. He has a heart attack. He has, stomach cancer or whatever. Put that aside. The Biden of today is as healthy as he is today, which means he's old and he's not all there mentally, but he's nothing other bad happens. You can't articulate a scenario without resorting to conspiracy theories to explain how he won't be the nominee. Please try to do that. True.
What if he just chooses not to run? I mean, what if he just says at this point that he cannot do it? I'm split on his capabilities at this point. I mean, in the same breath that he was saying that he's competent and he can remember things like the date of the death of his son, is like 3 lines later when he's like the president of Mexico. And I know that those things happen. Like they happen to anybody, whether you're young, whether you're old, but they seem to happen to him more regularly than they happen to a lot of people. And they seem to happen more regularly today than they did when he took office or when he was running for office.
They do not happen to everybody.
It happens to me. I mean, I do things like
you're not the president of the United States, so it doesn't matter if it happens to you. Who cares if Charles, mixes up me and Michael? Who cares? No big deal. Whatever. But if you're the president, that matters. Right? You have as they always say, you have the finger on the nuclear button.
It does, but Trump has done similar things of getting things mixed up. I mean that's the problem here. You've got 2 old men running for president right now.
You know who's young?
To your point, Charles, this is my theory on it. Joe Biden was a United States senator at age 29, which is like crazy to think about. 29, he was in the Senate. His entire life has been this moment. He ran for president in the 80s. He ran for president in the 2000s. He finally is president. The idea that he's going to be like, you know what? I just can't do this right now. I've decided to resign. It's not happening. It will not happen. Jill will not get him to do it. His handlers, the press secretary, that woman everybody likes attacking, she's not going to get him to do it. He's going to say, I'm president. I've got the delegates. I'm the nominee. So if somebody can tell me a theory that makes sense where that's not the case, I'll listen. But that's what I think currently will happen.
Well, now this is kind of making me a little excited, right? I love that Adam is on here, just spitting fire, spitting truth, right? As the kids say, no cap, for real, on God. And I gotta ask you, Adam, is it gonna be Michelle Obama? Do you think ever gonna run? Is she ever gonna run? Just
Brad's dying.
Is 60 years old.
Michelle Obama is 60 years old.
She's 60 years old.
What?
Yeah. She doesn't look a day over 40. Right.
It's true.
She's worth what? $50 million right now. She lived in that White House for 8 years, and she has never wanted political office. She's not Hillary, who we know from Yale Law wanted to be president. Okay. So this isn't a Hillary story where she was like, I'm going to be the senator from New York. I'm going to be Secretary of State. Michelle has never said any of that. So again, these Twitter right-wing conspiracies are bananas. Like, why would, if you're flying around in a private jet worth $50 million, having been in the White House, why would you want to go be the president? The job stinks. I mean, the job's not fun.
See, here's where I half agree with you. I do give into the idea that there's a chance that they might try to push her to run because she could beat Trump. But I've said on this before, and Brad disagreed with me, that why would she want to be president? She did that she was president for 8 years, but she was in the White House for 8 years, and recognize how constraining that is, not being able to like let a window down when you drive down the street. Who would want to go back into something like that? That would be my only reason for her not doing it. But I do. What's that?
She can't do that now. She doesn't roll.
She could probably crack it at least a little bit. Like she could like put her finger out there. I mean, she could do more than she could do when she was first lady. I read something or watched her in an interview, and she said that I can't remember what decision it was from the Supreme Court, but they were very excited about it. She wanted to go out and celebrate with everybody. They had to like sneak out past security and White House guards and all that to get out with, I think it was with Sasha. And they only got out there for like 5 minutes before they got in trouble and had to go back in. So who would want to live a life like that unless she felt there was a greater good to serve the party, serve the country, which I do think there's that case to be made there. But I think just in terms of ambition, I don't see her wanting.
Can I ask 2 questions, Adam? I'm trying to contain my conspiracy mind and stay in the realm of reality. But
let it out.
Question 1 is, given the current trajectory, is Trump likely to win in your mind against Biden?
As of today, if the election was held on Tuesday, I think Trump wins in a close election.
I agree. The second question, is Trump an existential threat in the minds of the Democrat machine or leadership or whatever you want to call it? Is he an existential threat?
I would actually say no at this point. I think that we are in year 9 of Trump. This is the 9th year of Trump. 2015, this started. I think the crazy has been baked in. I think the media is tired of him. You never see him covered anymore. The speeches, which I know they say, well, we can't elevate him. They're tired of it. It's like, it's the same song and dance. So I think that the Democrats, the powers that be, do not want him to win, but I don't think it's the level of fear that people had in 2016.
Okay. Well, if that's true, then I can't get to my next point, but I still think that he's an existential threat. I see them bringing charges, many of them very weak. I see them taking him off the ballot in states, which is drastic. And I see them doing a lot of things to try to prevent him from being the next president. Getting Joe Biden out of the race, here I'm going to go into the conspiracies, finding a way to get Joe Biden out of the race and replace him with a candidate that could win, such as Michelle Obama, doesn't seem like a stretch from removing him from the ballot.
How does that happen right now?
Health.
How does what happen? Removing Biden?
Yeah, technically.
Biden is currently winning primaries and getting delegates.
Against who, though?
It depends on the time. It depends on the timing. They can't do it amidst the primary.
This is why the conspiracy theory falls apart. He won the South Carolina primary. You're going to say, what's that? And I'm going to say, yes, the media didn't cover it, but there was actually a primary there. He's going to win next week's primary, Nevada or whatever it is. So he's going to have delegates going into the convention. So the idea that the chair of the DNC or someone can be like, oh, hold on, we've got to put Michelle here. That's not how it works. It's going to come down to Biden saying, I want to be gone. I want to resign for the good of the party. And then it will be, I mean, people say Michelle Obama. I mean, Kamala will want it. Newsom will want it. It will be a complete circus.
Yeah, but I agree. But in this scenario, if he dropped out, decided he couldn't run, similar to LBJ, after the convention, then the DNC decides who the nominee is going to be. There's not a yeah. If he drops out after the convention, the DNC picks a committee of, I don't know, 10 to 20 people that chooses the nominee.
Right.
Why does that make sense, right? Because if you have a nominee who drops out, then what do you do? Yeah. And I know, and that's similar to local elections in a sense, because I know we had a commissioner die when he was the nominee, and then it was the party came together and precinct chairs picked his replacement. So I guess that could be an opportunity there.
But great thing here, we're going to find out. We can speculate all we want. My money's still on Biden not being the nominee, and we're going to find out.
How much money do you have going?
What's that?
How much money do y'all have going?
$100.
$100. Come on, Michael. Ugh.
I will say it's interesting because, you know, my mom, who's both my parents are South Carolina voters, and she's a Democrat, lifelong Democrat, is very, very disappointed with this election because she has no one to vote for. And she can't even bring herself to vote for Nikki Haley. She was like tempted to, but she's like, I don't like that lady. She seems weak. And that was based off of, I think, the first debate. So she's just kind of like, she didn't vote in the Democratic primary. She's not going to vote in the South Carolina Republican primary. No idea who she's going to vote for in November. And I feel like a lot of Democrats feel that way. I could be mistaken, but it seems to be the case.
I think you're right. I mean, I think it's the worst election of my lifetime. I mean, I don't think there's one remotely close. I mean, I think that 2020 was bad, but it was a referendum on whether you wanted 4 more years of Trump. But this thing is like a referendum on 2 terrible choices. So I think the voting turnout will be down. I don't know anyone who's really excited about Biden. You're excited about him because you want policies to be in place, but no one's like, oh, wow, we have Joe Biden again as president, you know, and I think that affects things. People like us follow this closely, but if you are just casually following politics and your grocery bill's up and you hate Trump and Biden sold you a bill of goods, so to speak, you're not going to vote. And so yeah. I think that what your mother is feeling is on point to a lot of this country. And so I think that I mean, look, I'm very open to the idea there's going to be a big wild card here. My prediction, which I put about a month ago on Twitter, is there will be a major health issue for one of them. And that will change things. But on his own, Biden just saying, nah, I'm done. No way. I just think
is that a natural health issue or is it an induced health issue?
I mean, it'll be like the Ken Lay health issue. Remember that? The run guy? He died of a heart attack right before he was going to go to jail. You
never know. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not wishing that upon anybody, but you know, sometimes accidents are forced upon you.
It happens. But like what, you know, if we wake up tomorrow and Donald Trump has a massive heart attack and dies, would you be that surprised? I mean, he's not the healthiest guy. He's not that Brad Swale carnivore diet going here.
Right.
So I think at the end of the day, Father Time has to kind of play a role here at some point, and maybe he does with Biden. We'll see.
What's wrong with conspiracy theories? Why do we got to leave those at the door? Right? I mean,
I'll tell you what's wrong with them. I think some of them are true. I think that there's no doubt. There's a great book by Ryan Holiday about the Hulk Hogan lawsuit, and he starts the book by talking about this exact issue, that everyone disparages conspiracy theories, but many times they're true. Like there is conspiracies. My problem with political conspiracy theories is we know the people who work in the government at high levels are mostly idiots. And so this idea that like they're so brilliant in what they're going to pull off here and like the handlers and this and that, like you saw what Trump did when he was in the White House. He couldn't keep people in the job for longer than 2 weeks. So the idea that like there's all these brilliant people manipulating things, I'm just always very skeptical of.
Okay. I agree. They are idiots. So,